Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. This week on the Film vs. Film podcast, we are having a look at the latest release, that is Last Night in Soho, a horror film, and Edgar Wright's first horror film. So we'll be focusing on our favourite Edgar Wright films. And as always, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account, so if you want to say thank you, then just follow the link in the show notes below and buy us a coffee. That would be amazing. And as always, we are joined by the crusty juggler himself, who loves to shoot guns up in the air and go, ah!
With a big bushy beard!
Yeah. Boaz Dix. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm crack-a-lacking. I'm good.
My film, then, for Edgar Wright is Hot Fuzz. I fucking love this film. I don't care what anyone says. This is a masterpiece.
It's a great film.
This is all shot in Edgar Wright's hometown in Wells, which is literally like, 40 miles down the road from us. So it's not very far away at all,
Nice.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah, so I really love this film. This is certainly my favourite Edgar Wright film to date. But yeah, still really looking forward to Last Night in Soho. So what happens in Hot Fuzz? Well, we are introduced to the super cop that is Nicholas Angel, and he is an incredible policeman, top of the class in all his departments, and he is way too good for his job. So the chief inspector casts him aside to the country town of Sanford, in the country.
Sanford.
Yeah. And he meets a lot of interesting characters. He
Village
teams
of
up
the
with
Year.
Danny Butterman. And he soon discovers there are lots of accidents in this town.
But it's okay, because they're for the greater good.
The greater good. And he soon figures out that all these accidents are murders, and they're all linked to Simon Skinner. But then later on in the story, he finds out that the NWA were behind it. Basically, the whole village were behind all these murders, so they can literally just win the Village of the Year competition.
Yeah, and if anybody's listening, that doesn't stand with N-words with attitude. Like, completely unrelated.
Yeah.
It's the
Neighborhood Watch Alliance. And then when he discovers that, it basically becomes a 90s action film with gun porn everywhere. And that's the
Yes.
film. What did you make of this one, Mr. Encyclopedia Man?
A lot of gun dicks and gun holes. It was awesome. I mean, I know this film. I've watched it many times.
Yes, I quote this film a lot.
Yes. Yeah. You're not even from around here. It's it's a great film. Yarp. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I enjoyed it this watch, and I gained a lot of insight into things that I didn't remember. So, and I mean, there's amazing. There's so much going on, and it's so funny. I've watched a few Edgar Wright films, and all I can say is so far, Edgar Wright can do no wrong. All of his films are really good.
All right, directing then. The montages in this film are really cool, like the first one at the start where we find out about how amazing Nicholas Angel is, played by Simon Pegg, of course, how good he is as a cop, and it's totally filled with every dramatic camera technique you can think of, like crash zooms, handheld shots, undercranking, overcranking, whip pans. The film is whip pan-tastic in this film. The opening just gets you into this high-energy mood for this film, plus a great cameo from Peter Jackson dressed as Father Christmas.
Do you know, I had no idea.
Really?
That's insane. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
The second montage where Nicholas travels to Sanford is visually great too, with lots of jump cuts to represent passing of time.
Yeah.
Flashes of taxi signs and trains whizzing past.
Yeah, I think what you call these cuts are like smash cuts, because they're not just jumping like they are.
Yeah.
coming at you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing. You don't see it in many films these days, but it can make something quite dull, like, whoa, what's going on? Oh my God, what are you doing? Like, even waiting for the train looks amazing.
You know, the way Nicholas Angel travels from London to Sanford it is great because it's not just a few big wide shots to represent, you know, the passing of time, which is a very overused trope, I think. So it's a great use of montage there. There's a montage where Edgar Wright makes paperwork look so dramatic, where he undercranks and overcranks the fuck out of it, you know, very similar to what like Tony Scott does in his films. And of course the gearing up scene montage is awesome, finished off with a toothpick, you know, as he's gearing
yeah. Yeah, that was amazing.
What's interesting about this film, though, like a lot of action films are criticized a lot for using like too many shots to create the action that aren't particularly compelling, and you just get lost in the action. You don't know where you are. You know, one example, like in Taken 3, like Liam Neeson jumps over a fence that takes like 10 shots to achieve. You're like, why?
Because he's an old guy.
Yeah.
You gotta
mainly for that reason.
You gotta hide the age.
But a lot of action films today use pretty wide lenses and just show you the action and saying, look, the actors are doing it for real. But this film certainly shows you can make a really good action film with lots of shots and fast cuts. You know, in the foot chase scene is really great, you know, really quick, and I was never lost or confused about what was happening in the film. In any of the action scenes, really, you're never lost. It's just, it feels perfectly pitched with all the cuts, even though they are really fast.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there is, because they do happen fast, but there is a continuity between cuts. You're like, boom, you know, here's him. Boom, here's outside. Boom, here's the guy he's chasing. Boom, here's, you know, where he's aiming. Here, boom, here's where he needs to look at next. It tells a story. It is, even though it's happening really quick, it tells a coherent chronicle, you know, account of what's going on. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons you're not lost. I think a way that speed cuts or smash cuts are done wrong is if it's just everywhere. You know, there isn't like some, you know, you're like, oh, it's to the left, to the right, it's down above. Why is it looking over there? I think this has got a very, it's like, it's purpose. It's got purpose. Even though it looks like frenetic, it has purpose.
Because I feel like this type of action is kind of dying out a bit, because the temptation is just to keep it wide. You know, look, you know, as I said, the actors are doing it for real, and possibly a reason for that is that shooting action like this takes a fucking long time to do. But I think when you do it right like that, it's so worth it, you know. Oh yeah, I like how the film gives you a little tease about Nicholas's gunplay prowess at the village fete. You know, Nicholas just caresses the air rifle before cocking it, then a few simple shots of the little metal men going down in close shots. Then ends with Nicholas pulling up the rifle, all done really quick and smooth, and you don't actually see Nicholas fire the rifle. Then Danny accidentally shooting the doctor is quite funny. I love the way Nicholas enters Stanford on a horse at the end. It's exactly like a spaghetti western. For one, he's on a horse, you know, he trots down the street, then the whole village starts to notice him. Then you have like a million close-up shots on everyone cutting faster and faster until Nicholas says, "Morning." Then they all like spring into action. Just a great riff on like Italian westerns. But I think my favorite action scene is when Danny and Nicholas dive through the air into the pub, firing guns in both hands. And there is about 8 different shots of them diving through the air. It's so epic, and it's also kind of taking the mick out of like 90s action films, you know, where they're dead serious in there.
I like every time the hooded figure's on there, there's you know, there's less focus. He's kind of very unfocused, you know what I mean? The camera doesn't necessarily, it's kind of a bit wavy. And you also have this kind of distortion thing that happens a lot with the smash cuts, and especially during the murders, where I can't really describe it, but everything is kind of ajar and rocking and stuff like that. There's just, yeah, that's
like the cranking, I think, what he does. So you're what under cranking and over cranking is, it's an old fashioned term. In 1 second you have 24 frames per second. So under cranking you would slow that process down to less frames going through, or over crank, so you have a lot more frames going through, so you kind of have that effect. Basically, fast forward, speeding up or slowing down, but then you kind of like mess around with light and stuff.
I'll tell you a scene that I thought was a great deal of suspense and was just kind of amazing. There's so many of these, but where the reporter gets his head crushed.
Oh yeah, that's my favourite shot. Yeah,
just all these cuts of looking at the time, the murderer's unloosing the stone. Angel is reading out stuff, like zoom up into the papers, and it's like it's the time 12, and he runs there, and bang, just straight on his head.
Yeah,
man, it was so grotesque. It's so over the top. You're like, Jesus.
Yeah, and you don't know like how much they're going to show, but his head gets literally splattered right in close up. But I think the shocking shot is the wide shot as the spike is like still in his body, standing up for a moment.
Yeah,
it just brings the film like brilliant shock value. More of a like folk horror feel, which you get more of later on, which is quite nice near the end.
That might be my favorite shot. There was one transition I never noticed until watching this later, and it was towards the end, and it's after one of the last members of the NWA. They were all celebrating. You think it's a job well done, and he tries to shoot Angel, and shoots Danny, and then the mine blows up, and you think Danny's dead, and it zooms out, and like the smoke from the debris from the blown up building, and it transitions into a cloud that's 5 years later.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, or 1 year later, and I was like, wow, smoke into a cloud. That is pretty awesome. That's a pretty damn good transition.
You got a favourite shot then? Or a scene?
My favourite scene may be them beating each other up in the...
Model Village.
In the model village, yeah. Mainly because it's so epic. These characters hate each other, and now they're fighting. They're like Godzilla and King Kong.
Yeah, the sound effects come a lot deeper and slower.
Yeah. It just adds the weight to it. I thought that was a really cool scene.
So, score for directing, Baz. What are you going for this masterpiece? By the way.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible. I'm gonna go 8.9.
Yeah, I just really appreciate Edgar Wright's great 90s style action, done for laughs and done seriously as well at times. And I think he certainly can do this style of action really well today, and more directors should be doing it. It is so effective.
But then again, if everybody did it, then it wouldn't be so unique.
Yeah. But I feel like it's dying out, and I don't want it to.
No, I think definitely something should be shot like this.
So I'll give it a 9. Right. Screenplay. Of course, the most important question in this film is, have you seen Bad Boys 2 or Point Break? Or which film should you watch first?
Yeah, watch them both. And then this one.
I think you should probably watch Point Break first, because if you get tired or something, you've certainly watched the better film before you get to Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, true. You motherfuckers need Jesus.
I love how the film blatantly gives you the real reason for the upcoming murders, like the crusty jugglers and the living statues spoiling the Village of the Year contest, but it kind of is dismissed by Nicholas because it's ridiculous. It's right there in front of you early on in the film, but you don't come back to it until a good hour or so. Then the film is manipulating us to think, the murderer is Simon Skinner, Timothy Dalton's character, where he's saying things like, "What say we drink to their demise?" and "He'll be in bits tomorrow."
Yeah. You've got so many secrets, I could bash your head in and spill them all out. You're like, that's really on the nose. Even the first line when you see him is he says he runs alongside Angel. He's just arrived in the town. He goes, "I'm a slasher. You better catch me." It's like, what? A slasher of prices. It's like,
but I like how this film just uses one character for Nicholas to focus his suspicions on, which brings him to the NWA in the end. But the film deliberately doesn't play out like a whodunit, because all the murders are pointing to Simon Skinner, so much that something else is at play here, but you can't put your finger on it. In a whodunit, there would be like multiple suspects for Nicholas to follow before finding out it's the NWA, and throughout the film you're just trying to figure out who the murderer is and trying to keep up with Nicholas. But with this, it makes it so obvious it's Skinner. it just doesn't feel right. And it just allows you room to enjoy the funny stuff and enjoy the ride, you know, not trying to like keep up what the hell's going on.
Yeah, exactly. You don't think it's a mystery. You're like, yeah, it's obviously Skinner. It's obviously Skinner. I don't know how he's doing it, but it's him, obviously. Well, it's not so much how he's doing it. It's like, it's fairly obvious. You're like, the town is stupid. Like, this village is a bunch of idiots. But yeah, I do like how it kind of ties it up together where it's like the whole scene of he investigates his leg. He doesn't have a cut on it because the killer did.
That's where it changes, yeah.
And then he goes through all of the tapes and he's like, yeah, I guess they were all accidents. And it's where the girl says, no luck catching those killers then. And it's like, the one killer actually is like, oh shit.
Ding!
Actually, yeah.
Multiple killers.
Yeah, almost the rest of the damn village.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I love how intricate this script is, where such little things have such brilliant payoffs at the end. Like Nicholas and Danny are in the car looking at people walking down the street, and Nicholas asks, why is Mr. Treacher wearing a big overcoat? Yeah, he can't be cold. And later it's because he's carrying a massive shotgun.
Yeah.
Danny is looking at DVDs in a supermarket and reads Super Cop, the cop that can't be stopped. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg have really thought about every moment in this film and decided, could this be important later? That's just a few examples. There's loads of other stuff as well.
The Swan.
Yeah.
The Swan is a running joke.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, he's the one that takes down Frank Batman, Jim Broadbent.
Exactly. So the Swan is incredibly important. There's a lot of silly things that show up to be like incredibly important at the end. There's a lot of moments where you're like, why is that in there? But they're all like Chekhov gun moments.
Yeah.
They do factor in at the end.
I love the quadruple twist near the end where like Nicholas finds out that the NWA have killed all these people because they just want to win the best village award. Is the first one. Then you find out his own boss, Frank Butterman, was behind it all, and their leader. Then Danny, Nicholas's best mate, is in on it too. Then moments later, Danny uses the ketchup to fake the knife injury to get Nicholas out of there. Of course, that trick wasn't out of the blue because Danny has done the ketchup trick already. And I just love how the film surprises you so many times in quick succession, and it feels like really earned.
It's not cheap. It's like, oh, I can't believe you did this. And then it's like, especially with the stabbing ketchup one, because they did it before. And then he flat out stabs him. Blood comes out of his chest and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. But even on a rewatch, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty clever because he gives him the notepad which has the ketchup in it, because he says to him, don't forget your notepad.
Yeah.
He put the ketchup in a notepad because he knew he was too close to the truth and that he might have to fake his death. So there's a lot of stuff where you're like, that was well earned. Yeah.
Then for one last surprise is the tone of the film completely ceases to be like a folk horror comedy and becomes a full-on action movie. And I love how all the best action in this film is at the end. No complicated plot to follow, just pure gun porn. Nicholas and co taking down the old people. It just feels so much more satisfying when your best action is at the end. Even then, the film has one last twist where Tom Weaver is still in the station, and as you said, he falls on the sea mine and blows up the station. You think Danny is dead because obviously 1 year later, Nicholas has got flowers to lay in the graveyard, but no, Danny is alive. So it's just a nice moment of happiness for the end of the film on Danny being alive. And I wish kind of more films would do that, certainly in the action, have your best action stuff at the end.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah, I think there is there's way too much of a thing. Especially if the film is an action film. Like this, you could go in not expecting it to be an action film because it's marketed as a comedy. So you could be like, okay, it's just funny. And then you're surprised that it's actually, at the end, it delivers as an action movie. But yeah, I feel too many action films, they like to put too many fight scenes in a film. And that's not a problem. The problem I have is what you said, is like, there's so many films where, even the ones we reviewed, where you go, wow, the action scene at the beginning of the film or in the middle of the film is the best.
It's amazing, yeah.
Why on earth wouldn't you just pack the budget to the finale? It just doesn't make any sense to me from like a plot perspective. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's because they certainly focus on the emotions more at the end, but there's no reason why you can't have your best action with your emotional stuff at the end as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think it's a mistake when a film does that. If I don't leave the cinema, like I should leave the cinema or whatever, thinking, holy shit, like I can't believe what I just watched, like just the end. I'm like, because that's going to stay with you. Rather than, the end kind of sucked, but do you remember that awesome thing that happened an hour ago in the film?
Yeah, there's so many films I can think of, recent films where the best action stuff is not at the end. Like one of the best action films in recent memory, like John Wick 3, is the best action stuff at the end? No.
No.
Even the latest Bond film, I won't spoil it, but the best action scene at the end? No way.
So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but there are too many films that do that. And yeah, I think really, if you want to please me, you like really please me. It's like you got to use your pinky. You got to use your pinky. No, but
God.
No,
not that type of action, Christ.
I don't judge. But yeah, I think you should do all the stops at the end. Just throw it all in at the end. Like, because all of the previous action in this film is more like played for laughs. Even I think the biggest action scene before the end is like where he chases after that kid, which is really cool. But do you know what I mean? He chases after that teenager, but it's not like mind-blowing action. It's it's kind of a very funny chase.
I like the little visual gag when Nicholas is being shown around the police station, and on the swear box, all the swear words have some letters replaced with like different symbols, except
yeah,
doesn't replace by any. It's funny.
I think they probably did that to piss off the Americans. As soon as it goes into films in America, just like.
I love the scene where Danny has to bring Walker to the farmer cutting the wrong hedgerows because he has such a strong country accent. He needs Walker to translate what the farmer is saying,
Yeah, that was funny.
That was just hilarious. Yes, I roll. Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, like that. Yes, bro. Yeah, I suppose. What was another running joke? Like, I think it's also the same country accent guy that every time the girl makes a dirty joke. Yeah, so she makes a dirty joke about like her boobs or whatever, and she's like, boobs? It's like, tits, cocks.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Funny lines. There is so many funny lines in this film.
There's so many.
We're making you sergeant. And then Nicholas says, I see, in Stanford, Gloucestershire. He says it quietly.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, what?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Do I have any choice in this? No. I'm Joyce Cooper. I trust you had a pleasant trip. Fascist.
Yeah, that was funny, yeah. Yeah, no, I was fine. Hag. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, 12 down. Hag,
Yeah. Did you cook any fools? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Is it true that there is a place in a man's head that if you shoot it, it will blow up?
Yeah, that was a good one. How about when the female police officer hits that fucking girl in the face with a wet floor sign? She's like, nothing like a bit of girl on girl, ain't there, boys? And they're like, Yeah. That was good.
That's good. It's about 2 foot tall, long, slender neck, kind of orange, and black bill. Anything else? Well, it's a swan.
Yeah.
You want to be a big cop in a small town? Go fuck off up the model village. You said I could be an amazing policeman officer.
Andy, it's just bolognese.
It's not Judge Judy and Executioner.
Yeah.
You're a doctor. Deal with it. Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Head him off. Fuck yeah.
Oh, do you remember when he was talking about... Because that's the Hound. Did you know that? The big guy, the trolley boy. Yeah, it's the Hound. Yarp. Yeah, I like that. When he was first shown, and they're like, he lives with his mother and his mother and sister. He goes, and what do they do? It's like the same person. His mother is his sister.
Yeah. Oh God.
This is a small village.
Have you got a favourite line then?
You first, and I'll think of one.
Marcus Carter's big brother said he fingered her up the duck pond.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That always makes me laugh. A bit naughty, but it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, maybe when he's talking to that bloody Ray Winston looking child. That must be Ray Winston or Ray Winston's boy,
Really?
in the pub. And,
He's ginger.
And he says, he's ginger, but he looks exactly like him. And then he says to him, when's your birthday? And he's like, June the 20th. And he's like, what year? Every year. It's like, I'm going to use that with a cop. I think that's a really good comeback. Yeah.
When were you born? 1969?
Yeah.
What does he say?
Yes, you're like, you're 30, you're 38 or something. And he's like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, yeah, you're 42 or something. It's like, out. The great are good. That's a good one.
The great are good.
I'll tell you what a good line I quite like, that I say this with my dad a lot, is where he's pretending to be the trolley boy after knocking him out. And he's like, have you taken care of Angel? It's like, yarp. So he's out cold. Yarp. Yeah. He's not getting back up. Narp. It's like, good.
Yeah. Screenplay score, Mr. Encyclopedia Man.
Oh, man. It's a barrel of laughs. Yeah, maybe a 9.
Yeah, I just love how Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg just make everything so important in this film. And obviously how the film is structured. I love, that the tone of the film just completely changes from being like a comedy, horror, thriller, mystery to a full-on action film. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
And obviously, as I've said, that they save all their best action stuff for the end is brilliant and so satisfying to watch. So I'll go like 9.1. Acting then. I quite like how this film has a lot of characters in it, but they're all quite distinctive. Carl Johnson, who plays PC Bob Walker, who just randomly says tits, cock, is just really funny. But I think my favourite side characters are Paddy Considine and Rafe Spall, who play the Andys. They're quite like caricatures. There's a great moment where the Andys are talking to Nicholas after the fancy house blows up, and Paddy Considine character says, "If you didn't see anything suspicious, then who did?" Then he walks out of shot and then comes back again to stare him out. It's just a brilliant piece of improvised comedy acting. That bit must have been, improvised.
Yeah, improvised. Yeah.
I just love how this film is kind of self-aware at times, like that moment, just to create great comedy. All the actors bring something to their characters to make them funny.
Yeah, is it Paddy Considine? He's my favourite Andy. Because he's the only real Andy. Let's be, like the other one is like his cheerleader. He's an amazing tit, You just want to punch him straight in the face.
Skid marks. Now who's being childish?
Yeah, that's funny. I like when he takes a sip of his drink because he's having a go at him, and he's got a milk moustache on his moustache, and Simon Pegg is like, "You have a moustache?" He's like, "I know."
I know.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love the acting from Simon Pegg when he's completely convinced that everyone that's died was murdered. Everyone in the station is calling out names, asking if they were murdered. Pegg is shouting yes to all of them, and then Andy says, "Martin Blower." Then Pegg says calmly, "No, actually." Everyone says, "Really?" And then Pegg shouts, "Of course he fucking was!" It's just a great comedy acting, going from being really calm to really angry really quickly. It's great, that bit from Pegg.
But yeah, I was kind of half hoping that Paddy Considine, that Andy, or both of them, would just not listen to him and join him. The rest of them joined him. I wish he didn't, so he could shoot him in his fucking face.
Oh, that's harsh.
I hate him, but I love how I hate him. I hate him so much. He does a good jerk. He's a great work bully.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the fight in the model village between Simon Pegg and Timothy Dalton, which feels nice and tense. Dalton is not holding back very reminiscent of his Bond. He's brilliant when he's running at Peg, screaming his head off and then slips on a toy truck, and then his chin lands on the church spike, which looks nice and disgusting.
The first time I watched that, I was like, I just couldn't. I was like, whoa, okay, now I'm getting out of the room.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was something I wasn't expecting. I mean, he deserved it. It's so nasty. Even now, I'm like, oh man, that is just vile.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm going to need some ice cream.
Yeah.
This really hurts.
Yeah, it's so funny. Just like he's a little boy in that moment. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I got to say, my favourite performance is actually Nick Frost as Danny Butterman. He has like this innocent charm to him. Certainly through the Cornetto trilogy, well, certainly in the first two, Shaun of the Dead and this one, Simon Pegg is being the straight guy and Nick Frost is being the comedy guy. And obviously it's switched around in World's End, which works great as well. But I think I just love Danny Butterman in this. He's like, fuck yeah. Just really leaning into the action stuff. Brilliant. What's your favourite performance?
Yeah, I think I might have to agree with you. Yeah, I think Nick Frost's character is just, and how he does it is endearing. He's so childish and so stupid, but very lovable and just a great character. I mean, at the end, like the thought that he could die is awful, and I'm glad he didn't. And I think that's where you know that the character's right and the acting for the character is right. If I didn't like him, I would have been like, fuck it, whatever. But I'm like, oh shit, not Danny, anybody but Danny.
No.
So, no. So I think he does a good job with that.
Fuck yeah. Right. Score Boaz for acting.
I'll give it slightly less because I don't want to I definitely think the directing and the writing is where it's at. The acting is good. But I'm not going to give it like an insane thing because there have been a lot of films that we've reviewed in the 9s that the performances are just insane. So maybe like an 8.1?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I don't think there's anything terribly special. I think it's all a lot of great comedy. And as I've said before on previous pods, I certainly appreciate more of the subtle stuff. So this film ain't subtle at all. But it's not to say these aren't really funny performances, so I'll go like 7.8 because I just can't say that there's like really special performances because they're not really. I enjoyed their performances, but it's not like the main thing about this film. It's all about the writing and the directing.
Absolutely. So. Actually, like this is going to sound terrible, but could I actually change it to 7.9 more and closer? I think 7.8, 7.9. That sounds more right for me. But no, I agree. I think there's great comic timing and there are good characters, but I do think the writing and the directing is where it's at. And there are films that we've reviewed where you're like they would knock it way out of the park. This doesn't even come close, to some of those.
I think with this, like Edgar Wright is so integral to this film. Obviously he helped write it and direct it. There's so much
100%.
Edgar Wrightiness in this. It just wouldn't be the same without him.
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
He's not acting, so... Right, let's add up the scores then for Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz gets 51.7. This could be a tight one. Right, Mr. Encyclopedia Man, what is your pick for Edgar Wright films? There was only 2 to choose from, but there we go.
What did I pick? Baby Driver.
There you go, well remembered.
I did it.
Why did you pick this over World's End?
I prefer this to World's End, so that's kind of...
okay,
yeah. I just really like Baby Driver. I don't think it gets talked about enough. So, and it's kind of strange because when you picked that, you said, I've picked Hot Fuzz, which is a great choice, and you said Baby Driver or World's End. I was thinking about Baby Driver that very day. Just randomly throughout the day.
Really?
I was thinking about that film.
Oh, okay.
And then you said that. I'm like, damn, I want to watch it. So, that's kind of why.
Cool. So what happens in Baby Driver?
So it's about a baby who becomes a professional driver. Yes.
Nice.
Has a special car because he can't touch the
That's a weird film.
touch the pedals. Anyway, no, it's not about that. So
sequel.
It's a sequel, yeah.
Well, no, the prequel, rather.
Yeah. It's related to Boss Baby. It's in that universe of films. This is his driver, his chauffeur, if you will. No, so this film is about a guy who goes by the code name Baby. Like everybody knows him as Baby.
Yeah,
and he's the protagonist. He has like tinnitus from an accident, because his parents got in a car crash while he was in the car, and they died immediately, and he has tinnitus. It's a pretty sad story. And he becomes a getaway driver for mobsters. And that's essentially his story. He's trying to pay off a debt to one mobster he owed a lot of money to, played by Kevin Spacey. This is prior to his disgrace, so, Yeah, so it's just about that, really. Them doing heists and him going out and him trying to leave this world behind and settle down with this
with Deborah, played by Lily James,
this charming worker at a waitress at a diner.
Yeah, I think this film was really great. I think this is certainly like what I would call like pure Edgar Wright, unless you just remove the comedy side of it. But other than that, it's pure Edgar Wright, with just great direction and his love of film and music just mashed together.
Yeah,
because he's a massive music nut as well. I heard once he has thousands and thousands of songs on his, like Baby does on his iPod or whatever, along with his films as well. So he's a massive cinema and music nerd. So
that's cool.
Certainly this is a combination of both.
Yeah. I think the budget on licensed music alone must be tremendous.
Yeah. So directing then. The opening car chase is just brilliant, in my opinion. For a car chase that doesn't have any crashes in it or explosions is pretty impressive. I think what I love about it is how the camera is always so close to the cars. There's so many like great shots where the camera and the car like whips past each other. The angles are all really low, like you're in the action. The way Baby loses the cops with the two other red cars was quite clever as well. What did you make of the opening car chase?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Yeah, it was a hell of a thing to introduce the movie on.
It feels like you're going to get hit by the car.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. It was phenomenal. And it's just, there was a lot of clever storytelling throughout the chase. How he has to avoid them, and then he's found again. It does it a lot. I think it does chases very well in this film, where you're like, you avoid them, and then you do something wrong, and then they're back on you again. So you're like, so it builds up that anticipation. Oh my God, how is he going to get out? Oh, he's out. Oh shit, they found him again.
Yeah.
And even from the first chase, they do that. I love how he leaves them behind, how he can't seem to get rid of them, and he finds two other red cars that are just like his red car. And he does this whole, what the hell would you call it? It's kind of like a magic trick, like 3-card Monty.
Switcheroo.
Yeah, like find the lady or whatever.
He like brakes hard right in front of the middle one, so he moves out the way.
Everybody knows he's in the middle one. It's like, boom, he's in the middle one. He's just swooped in. He's not fooling anybody. Goes under a bridge and then boom, goes to the side and sort of nudges the one in the middle. And then disappears off. So they're after the wrong car.
Yeah, that's a very thick bridge, but there we go.
Yeah.
But I kind of like how the film is structured, certainly in a directional way of how they shoot the action in the three heists. Like the first one right at the start is really slick and smooth. The second one with, where the G.I. Joe soldier is chasing them, the car gets stuck under a big lorry at one point. So it's a bit messy, the second one. And then the third one is a complete mess. It's just all over the place.
Shit show. It's a complete shit show.
Yeah. I quite like how the action is kind of structured throughout the film, really, like that.
Yeah.
When we talked about, Shaun of the Dead on our zombie films episode, we mentioned about the Don't Stop Me Now scene where they beat up the zombie in the pub to the music of Queen. Well, this film is pretty much all choreographed to music on the whole. The confidence in Edgar Wright to do that is pretty impressive, but to do it really well is amazing. There are loads of great examples. One good one is during the credit scene where Baby is getting coffee.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
That blew me away.
The whole scene is done in one shot, but that's not the impressive thing about it. It's how Baby's movements are in sync with the music, and what he says is cool. Like when he's in the coffee shop, the guy asks him what he wants, and Baby says, yeah. When the music is saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And if you notice, the words of the lyrics are shown in graffiti.
I love that.
on the walls.
You can see almost, a lot of the lyrics in the environment. I think that shit blows my mind. It's like you've designed this street to set up for the music. It's like, yeah, he's walking down and there's graffiti with the word on it. There's graffiti on the floor. There's signs, there's... It's like, how the hell do you get the camera to move?
That's all CGI, by the way.
Yeah, okay, then that makes a lot of sense. It's less impressive now, but still very good CGI that I didn't realise.
Oops.
Yeah, you ruined it for me, man. But it was pretty cool. It's visually quite amazing. Yeah. And I love, as well, when he gets to the, the sax solo, and he goes by a sax store, like right at the moment the sax starts up. That was cool. And just pretends to play one of the saxes. I thought that was just really well choreographed. Yeah. That could be a music video.
Brilliant.
That little bit could be a music video. I'd watch that. That's great.
Yeah, certainly I would describe this film as like an action musical.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But saying that, the action scene where Baby escapes on foot is really good, but it doesn't entirely sync with the music, with all the running scenes. You still have like all the gunfire like synced, which is great, but they clearly made the decision not to sync the running stuff, because I think if they may have thought they could be forcing the running action to sync with the music, which might not make it look natural, or it might look goofy. It could be lack of creativity, but I'm not sure. I think it is the former, where they're just like, yeah, we're not going to force this bit to make it sync to the music, which I think was probably quite a good move there.
But, maybe it's a case of, like, he's not really in control of that scene. Like, the other ones where it kind of links in. I think you could almost say it's like, it's Baby playing for the camera. It's like he is in control of the vehicle. He knows what's happening. He has everything scoped out. And he is essentially constructing something to fit the music. But when everything goes shit creek in that thing, you have like the music he's playing on the car, that car gets totaled. He's got the track on his iPod. That iPod is fucked. He has to pick another car, find another station. Like, you have parts where there's also not diegetic music. So where he's running and he isn't listening to music, you're hearing music. So I think it's a case of he's just not in control here. I think he's trying to find a rhythm, and that's why the chase isn't rhythmic. You get what I mean? I think that might be it.
Yeah. I love the last action scene at the end in the multi-story car park, because it's less of a car chase, more of a car battle.
Yeah.
Doc gets smushed. The stunt where Baby jumps over the cop car coming at speed is awesome. Some traditional car chasing, but with Baby's car going backwards. There's some great Western close-ups there for good measure, of course. Then some cat and mouse work with Buddy trying to find Baby. Then Baby ramming him out of nowhere. Then they ram each other. And then ending with the cop car falling and crashing several stories. Just really creative action scene, keeping the pace up. Just really unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's as you said, that like the last action, it's not smooth at all. It's just all very erratic, but in a good way.
Yeah. It's also like a case of neither of the characters really know what the other one's going to do, and you don't know what the other one's going to do, and you don't know. And, because they keep doing these fake outs of, like, he slams the car, and then, like, Baby is gone from the car, or, where he pushes his car over. Or, when he's searching for him, and then bumps into Debbie, and he's going to shoot her, and then Baby slams him with another car. Like, they switch a lot of cars, Yeah. It's really cool. And then, and then obviously you think he's even killed Buddy, pushed him off, but he jumped out of the car at the last minute and has him. So it's a very much like, you're like, oh, is this over? Kind of like with them, you're like, did I kill him? No, he got out. Oh, fuck, shit.
It suddenly becomes very unexpected.
Yeah, it was quite an unexpected scene.
But I think my favourite sequence is the gunfight scene with the Butchers guys to the song Tequila, because the music is so fast with the drumming section of the song, and it just works really well with the gunfire. It's just really slick stuff, and so satisfying to watch that moment.
Oh yeah,
Tequila,
especially when he blows up the car, throws a grenade and puts a grenade in the car, and Tequila. Bah!
Yeah, just how the drumming just syncs up so well with the gunfire. It's so cool that bit. Seamless.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite shot or scene?
My favourite scene, for cathartic reasons, is Jamie Foxx dying. Christ, I have never hated Jamie Foxx more. I fucking hate that character.
Bats.
God, he should have died worse than that, but
Well, that's pretty brutal.
It was brutal, but it's way too good for him. I really hated Bats. Like, through it all, you're like, God, this guy is giving me real anxiety. I hate him so much. And it's kind of funny, actually, because when we'll talk about the script, how they do they flip the script of the actual bad guy not being Bats, but being the guy that's always nice to Baby. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Would you prefer the church spikes landing on his head then?
Yeah. Something much worse. Yeah. All of the deaths and maimings from Hot Fuzz, if they were all to happen to Bats, I would be very happy.
So directing score for me, I think I'll go pretty high as well. I'll go like 9.2 because I think it's just so well done, and the balls on Mr. Wright to just do like an action musical. I mean, there's nothing like this film, really, I don't think, like an action musical. Think of another action musical, like you can't.
No.
So, yeah, 9.2.
I'll go 9.4. It's also like just visually really good. We should discuss this more.
Yeah.
Just the way everything looks. It's incredible. It's an ideal paradise, it just looks really nice, at night, at day. Everything just looks good.
Bill Pope, I think, is the cinematographer.
Yeah. I mean, he just makes a good colour for this film. Do you know what I mean? It just has this kind of really amazing sort of American dream, apple pie, sort of just like sweet look to it. Everything's quite colourful, even with like these colourful characters, some of which are just the worst human beings.
Right, screenplay then. The dialogue definitely has like a nice rhythmic quality to it, which works well with the tone of this film. Just a few examples. When Doc introduces the crew, he says, "Over here is Eddie No-Nose, formerly Eddie the Nose." When Doc is talking about Baby's backstory, he says, "Of course he didn't know who I was," or "the worth of the junk in the trunk once he dumped it."
Yeah.
A bit of a tongue twister, but it's just got like a nice rhythmic quality to it, where the music is not overpowering, but the music just complements the really rhythmical dialogue, certainly from Kevin Spacey's character, Doc.
Kevin Spacey has some amazing lines.
Yeah.
I like that where he's basically paid up and he goes to see him at the restaurant because he's like, I'm finally free of this thing, and offering him another job. Like, I use offering in quotation marks. Because he says, like, he considers Baby his lucky charm. He needs him for a job. And I like where he's like, you're a pizza boy. But he's saying, like, what was the pizzeria? It was like Daddy's Pizza. No, Good Guys, Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Something, Goodfellas.
Yeah.
He said, but you could work with a real good fella and make some real dough. And I'm like, wow, that's really clever. And where he was like, so what'll it be, Baby? Are you in? And he's like, I don't know, am I? He's like, it's like, yeah. Because I really like this line as well. Like, I think the last thing he said, what'll it be, behind the wheel or in a wheelchair? And he's like, behind the wheel. That was a good line. So Doc has just some phenomenal lines.
I quite like the second heist action scene with Bats. The start goes wrong and Baby has to start the song again. Then when they have to change cars on the highway, Baby has to like rewind the song again before they drive off. It's just a nice, interesting quirk to the character of Baby where everything's about rhythm for Baby. Like, he can only do this job well when he's, listening to music and playing the right song for the right heist, and obviously to drown out the tinnitus in his ears. Yeah, it's just kind of a nice, interesting quirk for Baby's character. I like how in the script, the real threat to Baby running away with Deborah is Buddy, John Hamm's character. The obvious bad dude is Bats. He seems to not like anyone and kill them if needed.
Yeah, for like no reason.
Yeah.
And he really doesn't like Baby. Just for some reason, as soon as he meets him.
Well, he doesn't like anyone.
Yeah, but he is a jerk. He's a jerk to Baby. You think he's always at risk,
Whereas, like, Buddy in the beginning has respect for Baby. They listen to Brighton Rock, the Queen song, which is kind of a nice, cool scene. When Baby decides to sneak off to meet Deborah at 2 a.m., you think Bats is going to catch him, but no, it's Buddy, looking pretty menacing. But again, you're drawn to Bats as the big bad, as he finds the recorder but then Baby unexpectedly kills Bat, so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's between Buddy and Doc of like who's going to be the main villain in the end. Then as soon as Darling dies, you know it's definitely going to be Buddy.
Yeah.
That he has to face off against.
Yeah, I love that bit because, you know, where him and Bats basically verbally spar at the diner, and Bats is trying to get under his skin. Darling says about him, you know, don't fuck with my man and stuff. He goes, because when my buddy sees red, you'll be seeing nothing but black. And you're like, are you sure? Like, he seems like a really chill guy, yeah? And like Bats is a lunatic. I'm like, will John Hamm actually survive an encounter? But then I love when Darling dies, and you know, you get that close up of his face, like, fuck this, and you just see him load coldly and just slay all those officers, like bang, 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 bang. You're like, yeah, okay, no, he is pretty damn dangerous, you know. And that's the buddy you get for the rest of the film.
The end of this film is really interesting. Baby does face real consequences as he gets caught by the cops and is sentenced to prison. You know, Baby is a really likable character, but still a morally grey character and has to face up to his crimes, which he willingly does. What's really interesting about the very last scene where you see Deborah next to like a classic car in black and white, and then we get the colour back and Baby gets out and they kiss. And I'm not fully convinced this scene is real. And I think there's a possibility that this is all in his head. One, you know, it does feel a tad cheap that he serves 5 years in prison, then just gets out like pretty quickly in the cut. Two, you see like a perfect rainbow in the background. That never happens. I feel it's too perfect. So there's some ambiguity there, which I quite like and find really interesting.
It kind of reminds me of the whole ending of Grease Lightning, where they fly off in the car, and you think, that's just insane, you know?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, do you remember that? Everybody's cheering them on, they get in their car, and it flies off. And you're like, that's absurd. But it's like, you know, and people can interpret that as either, this is an incredibly... Or even the end of Taxi Driver, where everything's just perfect at the end. Where you can interpret those endings as, this is either a 1 in a million chance that actually this tragedy ends happily, and you could accept that. Or, in fact, you know, this is just, you know, this is kind of like, hey, it wouldn't end like this, but the audience wants a happy ending. Here you go, it's tagged on, but it might be fake or whatever. I quite like the character of Baby. I think he's a really cool guy, and he's definitely more capable than anybody gives him credit for, because he doesn't speak very much. And I think one of the things that you could say that at the end, there is like an alternative thing that he could have done. He did have a way out when they caught him leaving, because he said you know, all of this he's been forced to do. And then right at the end, he's going to leave at 2 a.m. And it was actually like John Hamm is like, go ahead and leave. And then he's caught by bats, and then you have this thing where he's nearly killed. But then, you know, they find his CDs, and it's like, no, he's telling the truth. He's not recording it. And everybody wants the job off. You know, like Kevin Spacey especially. Kevin Spacey's like, nah, call it off. Yeah, and everybody's like, listen, kid, we don't need you anymore. You're like, we don't trust you. And you think out of every part in the film, he didn't have a choice, but he has a choice just now. And he chooses to do the heist. Why on earth did he do that? Was it a pride thing of like, no, I'm the driver? Because you were trying to escape this the whole damn film, and then they give you an option, and you decide to do the heist. Yeah, and then you know it fucks up his life at the end.
But Doc still has all the tapes, though. He still has all his tapes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
could blackmail him, and also you know
he wants them back.
Yeah, and also you know if they get another driver, like. Because he does try to save lives, and that's what fucks up the heist. I don't think any other driver would have tried that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Edgar Wright has certainly said in the past that if he was to make a sequel to any of his films, it probably would be Baby Driver. And obviously with this ending, it kind of leaves it open if he ever does one, whether that was just a fantasy sequence or did he actually get out. So kind of he has options there of where he wants to start the sequel if he ever makes one.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, anyway. As we said, there's some really cool lines in here. That is the finest whining and dining of all the whining and dines in town. Damn it, I had that G.I. Joe motherfucker dead to rights. In this business, the moment you catch your feelings is the moment you catch a bullet.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Jamie Foxx has some really good ones as well. I like that one where he says, it was with the cops, the undercover cops. Because he's like, the guy's like, do I recognize you? He says, are you still alive? He's like, yeah, then you don't fucking recognize me. You know, it's like, he's like, "Whoa," and everyone's, ha, ha, ha. But it's like, yeah, no, that is a pretty insane thing to say. Yeah.
Another one from Doc. By the time this job is over, you'll be rolling in money, buying Maseratis, and feeding your gal catfish dipped in gold.
Yeah.
That's great stuff there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I love that line that he keeps saying to him is like, you're not just saying what I want you, what you think I want to hear. He's like, no, you know, we're friends, we're a team, we're in this together. And he goes, thank you. And he tries to say that at the end. He's like, don't feed me that shit. I know that line's from Monsters, Inc. He's like, it's one of Sam's favourite films.
Yeah, he says, don't feed me any more lines from Monsters, Inc. It pisses me off. Yeah, that's my favourite line, actually. I love the fact that a modern movie quotes a Pixar, you know, references a Pixar film.
Yeah,
I'm like, hell yeah. That's cool. There's another great bit where Baby kills bats by driving the car into a you know, a spike in the skip, and Buddy says, "What the fuck did you do?" I moved.
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. Move, motherfucker. He's like, also, like when he thinks he's killed Buddy, he's like, "Fuck you, Buddy." You know, push him off the gun. Oh, actually, here's another line that I thought was amazing. This whole sequence of lines is just after he shot Buddy. That was great. The cop was even like, where are you shot? You know, where did he shoot you? And he was like, bang, right there. But I like when they pull over because they need a car and music or whatever. It's like, you know, he sees this guy with a car and then he pulls a gun on them. It's like, have you ever used that, kid? He's like, literally 5 minutes ago. Get out. And they're like, can I at least have my iPod? It's like, no. You know.
Have you got a favourite then?
Probably the one with Pixar, the one with, you know, don't feed us any monsters.
Screenplay score for me, I don't think it's as good as Hot Fuzz. I don't think. You know, I kind of like how, you know, all three heists kind of go from perfect to completely messed up. And that's quite clever. I don't think Lily James as Deborah gets enough good stuff to do. I think she gets left behind a little bit. It might be being a bit harsh, but
I think it's one of those things where I think initially she's quite well written. So when they first meet, she's incredibly gentle and charming and quite funny. And it does seem, obviously, as the movie progresses, and even when he's with her a lot towards the end, you know, she doesn't really get that much to do or really anything vital that's said that, you know, sticks in my head very much. She's basically what he has to save. But I don't think she's like terribly written. I think when they actually meet at the first couple of times and they have dates, you're like, yeah, no, she's genuinely quite a funny person. You know, they're discussing music and there are no songs called Deborah and there's so many songs called Mary, my sister's name.
Yeah.
What's your name, baby? Cool. Oh man, there are millions of songs with your name. We could we could travel the world and never run out of songs. You know, so she's quite nice, and you think, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
For her.
Maybe like half a scene extra with her would have been great for me. Yeah, so I'll go like 8.7. How about you, sir?
I'll go 8.8. Yeah, I'll go 8.8.
Right, acting for Baby Driver. I love the acting from Ansel Elgort right at the start, where he mouths away to the lyrics of Bell Bottoms, and all his movements are in, you know, completely in time to the music. Then John Bernthal points forwards, but Baby reverses the car, which is quite a funny bit there. But it's all like a homage to Edgar Wright's own music video he did with Noel Fielding to Mint Royale's Blue Song. It's basically the same thing, and you see like a glimpse of it when Baby watches TV. Check it out on YouTube. But yeah, I just love that whole opening where you just think, you know, you're going to be focused on the guys in the heist, doing the heist in the bank. But no, it's just on Ansel Elgort just dancing in the car. Yeah. You know, with the wipers and stuff. It's kind of cool. Yeah,
with the wipers, banging his door to the drums and shit, and the steering wheel. It's kind of amazing. Yeah.
I quite like the acting from Ansel Elgort when Doc is explaining the plan for the heist, and all the sound effects like drop out, and all we hear is the music, and you see Baby like tapping away gently to the piano music, perfectly in sync. And we see Bats getting pissed off, looking over at Baby, thinking he's not listening, and then Baby explains the whole plan in detail.
Yeah, that was great.
So calmly, so swiftly. It's kind of cool storytelling there with Baby just enjoying himself, but he knows exactly what's going on, but Bats just does not trust this guy at all. What I quite like in the acting as well, there's little moments with Deborah and Baby when they're like tapping their heels to the music. It's all really quite subtle, but like completely in sync as well. It's not overemphasized, which I quite liked. I love the diner scene where Bats forces Baby to stop at the diner where Deborah works. And Bats is guessing how Buddy got into the business, and you can tell Bats is like completely spot on because John Hamm is looking more and more pissed at Bats. Yeah. And then Darling answers for him. And in that moment, you kind of should know that, like, Buddy is definitely the real bad guy here.
Well, I think Buddy is serious shit, but he's always trying to be cool. But he is a serious fucking force to be reckoned with. And, I mean, they are going to kill each other. Bats and Buddy, he was going to kill him. Like, one of them was going to kill one of them after the heist. I like even when they talk about it, where... Bats goes out to get some mints or whatever, and he just robs the place. Yeah, get some gums, and he just robs the place. And they're talking, and Darling's like, "You remember when you killed that guy for me or something?" And he goes, "Which one? The one that touched your ass, or the one that looked at you funny?" And he goes, "The one that looked at me funny." "Oh yeah, I remember that." He's like, "Well, Bats looked at me funny." It's like, you want me to kill Bats? It's like, not right now. It's like, should Baby hear this? I like how he's very concerned, and he seems quite timid even with this. But even with that conversation, you're like, no, this guy is fucking hardcore. He's going to wait till after to.
Then when Darling answers for him, Bats is like claps enthusiastically, patronising them.
Yeah,
saying that's some Oscar shit right there. The situation is already awkward for Baby, but then when Deborah comes with the 3 Cokes. And Bats is talking to her, wondering why Baby doesn't like this place, and the tension just goes up a notch, and it's just like really awkward and uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah,
and it's all from like Jamie Foxx's really intimidating performance.
Yeah, I think Jamie Foxx for me is a standout because he is just. It's just anxiety inducing any time his character's on the screen, because you just get the feeling like, and it's not even just his actions. I think even before he actually starts to kill people, he is very intimidating. He's incredibly imposing. He's very loud. He's incredibly ignorant. He's always angry, and you just get this feeling that he is going to just. Like, he's either going to try and say something funny and like batshit crazy, or he's just going to kill someone, like just out of nowhere. You just get this feeling from him. So when he goes batshit insane and then kills someone out of nowhere, like the tequila scene in the warehouse, you're like, you can kind of expect it. He always seems like he's going to kill someone, and that's why I just feel like Baby was always in danger with him around, and that's why it was so satisfying when he died. I think Jamie Foxx really sold that. He really made me absolutely fearful and just hateful about this character. I was like, God, I think you're doing something right if you're acting as the bad guy when I can like literally I yell like yes when he fucking dies. I'm like, yeah! So yeah, I think Jamie Foxx does a really good job as Bats. He was very scary.
Yeah, he's certainly my favourite performance. But yeah, you get this sense every time he's on screen, like certainly when he's in the car with Baby, that Baby is not safe in there with this guy, this maniac.
No, that he could just shoot him in the face at any point in time. That just feels like you remember the first proper conversation they have. He's like, "Did you make me miss my shot?" And then he pulls the gun on him, and you're like, he could have killed you right there and then, but he doesn't, and you're like, yeah, I just never feel, Baby is never safe with him around.
So acting score for me, I think it is better than Hot Fuzz. Jamie Foxx again, brilliant. John Hamm, amazing. Yeah, John Hamm certainly like more dramatic acting and some great subtle stuff from all of them. And I think the cast is really good. It's really cast really well. Big fan of Lily James as well. Yeah,
the kid that plays Baby, who I haven't memorized his name. I think this is the only film I've ever watched him in. I thought he did a bang-up job. Ansel Elgort. Great. He was great. I liked him. Axel. Good old Axel. Yeah.
Butchered there. Ansel.
Did you say Hansel or
Anyway,
Axel? Say his name again.
Ansel. Ansel.
Ansel. So not Axel.
Ansel.
Ansel.
No.
It would be cool if it was Axel, because an Axel is on a car and he drives a car. It would be like, whoa, he was born for this part. If he was called Axel Baby Man.
Yeah, that's basically why he was cast.
Yeah. Axel Babyface Boy. It's like, get him.
So I'll go like 8.4.
I'll go like at 8.6.
Nice. Right, let's add up the scores then for Baby Driver. Ooh, Baby Driver. Oh, no. Hang on, let me check. Damn it. Yeah, Baby Driver wins with 53.1. It's an upset, people.
Not for me.
Whereas Hot Fuzz only gets 51.7.
That's not bad. It's just 2 points shy.
Yeah.
Come on, you're acting as if it's 20-point different. It's close.
Yeah, so Baby Driver wins this one somehow.
By my graces.
But Hot Fuzz will always be one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. But I don't care what anyone says. Anyway, next week we are returning to Marvel, people, as The Eternals hits the big screens around the world. A new property from Marvel, which looks amazing. Really looking forward to this one. Directed by an Oscar winner, Chloe Zhao. But we'll be having a look at our favourite comic book team films. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to listen to that one. Again, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account, and if you really like what you hear, follow the link below. And if you want to, show your appreciation and say thank you, you can buy us a coffee. That would be really nice. Boaz, you have been rather good as our resident crusty juggler.
With a big bushy beard. No, I've been BABY.
Baby.
Yeah.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.